So, welcome to those that are here or watching the recording afterwards. I am Anastasia. I run a company called No Grey Suits. Now, today is all about getting you comfortable doing reels for your business or shorts or videos, whatever you want to call them, for your business online. So the first couple of things we're going to go through is more around why video, why it is important for small businesses. And then we're going to get into the meaty stuff of tips with sound and tips with video, cameras, lighting, that kind of thing, setting yourself up for success. But then we're also going to get into covering off how to come up with some ideas for reels or for content for your business, because that's one of my superpowers and I have a lot of fun doing that. And if anybody at that point wants to jump in and throw me some industries, I am more than happy to cover those ones off. Otherwise, I'll pick some random examples. Okay, first things first, a lot of people, when I talk to them about doing video for their business, one of their first things they tend to say is, do I have to dance? Do I have to do those TikTok dances? No. I tried it once. My husband basically watched it and said, please don't post that online. Yeah. Dancing online or on video, not my thing. Dancing at a wedding? Absolutely. I'll do the Macarena any day, but not for this. And you don't have to. Couple of stats. I won't go through too many stats and bore you too much, but this year, 89, nearly 90% of consumers expressed a strong desire for brands to increase their presence in video. 90% of audiences wanted businesses and brands to do more video. That's huge. That number, when I saw it, I was shocked, and I knew that video did really well. Last stat that I'm going to throw your way, because it ties into the other one. Videos featuring people generate nearly 40% more engagement than those without. So not only is video super important for your business, and the stats tell us that, but video featuring you is going to get you more engagement and more love on your posts on social media. Can't guarantee they're going to do better than puppy and kitten videos. So thought I'd throw one in here just for entertainment's sake. But what I will say is I've been doing social media management for a while now, and anytime we post videos of the business owners having a chat about their businesses, telling stories, explaining what they do, it does so much better for their engagement, for their reach, but also looking right at the very end of the funnel, you find that your leads are a lot warmer when they come to you and when they talk to you, because they feel like they've already met you. They feel like they're already comfortable with you. They've passed that initial hurdle of what type of personality does this person have? And you tend to attract more of the right kind of people as well by showing up as you, showing your values, showing some of your personality, than if you're just a faceless brand. Yes, it works for the corporates, not showing the ins and outs of people. But why do you buy from a small business owner? You buy from a small business over a corporate, not because of price. Chances are a small business can't compete on price. But we buy from small businesses because they give us that warm, fuzzy feeling. And how best to give somebody that warm, fuzzy feeling than by letting them get to know you a little bit better and get to know your business and the people of your business through video, if you're not meeting them face to face, which is gold standard. Scrolling through any social media platform, because they all have video now, are you likely to click on any of these or to keep watching for longer than a couple of seconds? They're all stock videos. They're all showing the industries that I'm going to show you in a sec. And they're all videos that I have seen at some point or another. trying to get attention in the world of content that is out there? Or are you more likely to stick around and see what these people are saying? I know for me, I would much rather, and I would spend 30, 60, 90 seconds watching one of these videos and hearing what these people have to say about their businesses, their journeys, what they do, how they do it, why we need it, than watching a stock video like that. So these are all the exact industries and stock videos that are used for those industries versus the business owners having a chat. Now, all of these videos, they don't have to be perfect. Not one of these videos was done in a studio. I know that because I recorded every single one of them and edited every single one of them. But each one has worked really well to get an audience engaged, listening and getting to know you. It's that know, like, and trust thing, isn't it? Where, you know, if you can cross some of those barriers before you even have a chat with somebody, your job, especially if you're not a natural born salesperson, your job as a salesperson is so much easier. So this is the why. This is why, having worked in the field for a while, I think that doing videos for small business owners just brings so much more value than trying to put a bunch of, you know, graphic posts together and throw them out there into the world. Now we're on to our tips. The first one, what's behind you? Now, I don't know if anybody on the call or watching the recording remembers this. This was, I think, during peak COVID time. The lovely Yvette was being interviewed remotely by BBC Wales, and she hadn't done a check of what was behind her. Neither had the people interviewing. They didn't do a pre-check, obviously, or they just missed it. But can you see what's on the top shelf of the bookshelf over there? And no, I'm not so worried about the ghost on the back of the door with the handprints. That one doesn't worry me quite so much. But top shelf of the bookshelf, smack bang in the middle. Now, she was coming across, I believe from memory, she was trying to come across as a professional in her industry. Now, unless her industry is somewhat related to that item, which I believe it wasn't, yeah, that backfired big time. And she would have been so excited as well getting on BBC for her business. And it's the same with putting any video content out there. Just be aware of what's behind you. It doesn't have to be perfect. You've seen my background before I started screen sharing, and there'll be another clip that shows it shortly, because at the moment I should be on a green screen in front of the video. But watch out for what's behind you. You don't want to become a meme. At least I don't want to be. I meme my daughter all the time, but that's a completely different thing. You don't want this to still be floating around on the internet, being used as an example like this one is here in years to come. This was a few years ago now, and we still remember it. One of the big things I get asked a lot is what to wear. My answer is always whatever you want. Of course, No Grey Suits is my business name. I'm not going to tell you you have to suit up. We're not Barney. Anybody who gets that reference. But there are a couple of guidelines if you're wanting to, you know, make sure that your brand comes across in a certain light. Solid colors are a lot less distracting than prints. I know I say that while wearing a print, but I'll cover this in a second. Brand colors are a nice addition. Hence this. My brand is all about color. I could just wear teal today, but I also, another tip that's not on screen that I love to give people is if you're recording something and what you're wearing once you bring up the camera just doesn't look quite right, or you want to record something but you're still in your active wear and you can't be bothered going to change, don't let that put you off recording. Have a scarf ready to grab that's in your brand colors, or that's in your a pattern that matches your brand, like mine, bright and colorful, that you can chuck on. I could be, I mean, you can see my sleeves there, obviously. I could move it around so you can't see my sleeves, but I could still be wearing my Lululemon singlet. And if I had this on, you wouldn't even know. So don't have the reason you're not recording videos for your business, especially if you're excited about something and want to do it right now and you've got that little bit of inspiration. Don't have what you're wearing be the barrier. Have a scarf or a jacket that you can just grab and put on. It'll also add some consistency across some of your videos, making it easy for people to just go, oh, yep, I know that person. That's one thing. Brand colors, solid colors are less distracting. I'm doing a print because it matches my branding. Stripes, especially horizontal stripes, can do that wavy thing. There is a technical name for it, but I can never remember it. But stripes can do that wavy thing on camera. Try not to do your close together horizontal stripes. Avoid blending into your background. Now, if you've got a really dark background or a black background behind you, don't wear a black shirt. You'll become a floating head. Floating head is never a good look. Might be for Halloween next week, but normally floating head, not a good look. So try not to blend into your background too much if you've got a fairly plain, simple background. So even if it is your brand colors, you know, if you're up against, say, a green wall and you're wearing a t-shirt or a shirt that's the exact same or very close green color, you're going to blend in. And again, you become that floating head. Not a great look. So wear whatever you want, but a couple of tips if you want them. And notice there, I didn't actually say you have to look a certain way or professional. I just said what works with the camera. Next, camera angles. And this is something I see a lot with people who are a little bit newer to video, and especially that first one, keep the camera straight on or slightly above. No one wants to see your boogers. Trust me, we don't. But I see a lot of people, if they are recording from a laptop, they'll be recording with the camera facing up towards their face. We can see up your nose. It makes the double chin or turkey neck look worse a lot of the time. It's just not a flattering angle. So have a bit of a play with where your camera is. If you have to, I've been known to build a camera stand out of Lego blocks when I haven't had the right height camera stand in front of me. You can get creative. Stack a few things together. Make sure that camera is eye level or a little bit above. Make sure your face stays center of frame. This one is huge. So if you're recording in landscape, so sideways, always record with enough space around you so that if you were to crop it or cut that picture down into a vertical video, good for phones, good for TikTok, good for Instagram Reels, that you're not ending up with just your face filling the entire screen. So I've done so many reels and tips on this bit, but it helps you repurpose your content. You don't want to record the same thing twice if you can help it. So record for multiple purposes. Record with that in mind. So when you are recording, whether it be a webinar or whether you're looking at recording, you know, even if it is just a welcome video, if you're thinking you might even have an inkling that you want to use that again in the future for something else, or even a snippet of it for something else, sit back a little bit away from the camera and just have a think about your framing to make sure that if you were to cut the sides off, you're not just a full face up against the camera. It's not going to be flattering. You're not going to want to post it. Leave yourself some space. Give it a little bit of room around you, and then you'll find you'll be able to repurpose that content and do less filming. Check that you're not partially in shadow. This is more important if you're outside or near any really strong lights. If you're partially in shadow, it can look weird. It can, you know, draw attention away from what you're saying and the value that you're wanting to give your audience, instead putting the attention on, oh, I can't see her eyes, or I can only see her mouth at the moment. So that one, again, is more if you're outside. Just make sure that, you know, if you're under a tree or something like that, you're not sort of half in shadow and half not. It's just not. It's distracting, and that's the last thing you want to do, especially when you've only got 60 seconds to get somebody's attention. Sound. If you can, use an external microphone and not the microphone from your computer or your phone. Now, if you don't have a microphone like this, my professional microphone, grab a set of headphones that has a separate mic that comes down closer to your mouth. Hopefully you can see that. If you grab a separate mic and not the ones from your earpods and not the one from your computer or your phone, it'll get a lot less interference. It'll filter out your background noise a lot better. You'll find that your editing will be a lot easier. And you'll have that more professional sound compared to if you're trying to battle other noises to get the sound of your voice into the speakers there. So if you can use an external mic, now the headphones that I showed you a second ago were wireless, but if you are recording anything that is going to be used over and over again, try and use wired headphones. You've got less chance of little tiny dropouts and glitches and things like that. Do a test of your equipment before you actually do your proper recording. Sorry, and this can also go in line with the last point that I'll make in a sec, but always do a quick test. So even today, before this, I did a quick test and listened back for a second to make sure that I was using the right microphone, because the other day I skipped one of my own essential steps and didn't test, and I was chatting away. The person could hardly hear me. It was because my computer was still set to recording on my headphones rather than my main microphone. So always test, not just to see if you sound good, but actually to see if you are putting sound out there at all. The next one is background noise. Where you can, where possible, try and be in a space where you don't have a lot of background noise. That involves kids. That includes dogs. As I said when I first started this meeting, you may hear mine in the background. Hopefully it is filtered out. I do have my huskies being groomed at the moment, which means they're singing the song of my people. If you would like to see them, I did record one of them howling just before this. It is on my reels. He is quite cute. So if you do hear him and you do want to have a look at what he looks like as well, he's got one blue eye, one brown. He's gorgeous. Very annoying at the moment though. Anyway, so yeah, make sure you minimize your background noise where possible. It's just, again, less distractions. The last one, water droplet. Have a drink before you record. Hot drink is better than a cold drink. I'm just going to pop everybody on mute there. Just a sec. I've got somebody off mute. There we go. Have a drink. Hot is better than cold. And then have a chat before you start recording. Just read a passage out loud or say something. Tell nobody about the last book that you read. You can do that while you're testing your equipment. The reason for that is you don't want to get thirsty while you're recording and want to drink. And on the other side of that, the reason you talk after having your initial drink before recording is to get rid of all of those, I'm going to say it, moist sounds in your mouth. Nobody wants to hear it. And mouth sounds can be really hard to edit out a lot of the time, and you don't know you're doing it while you're doing it. So it's one of those things that's really hard for you to fix as you go. So have that hot cup of tea or hot water or coffee. I'm always a coffee person. Prior to recording, have a bit of a chat, test your equipment, and then you're good to go. You're not going to get thirsty in the 10 minutes that or 1 minute that you're recording if it's only a reel, because you've just had a drink, but you're also not, having those yucky noises come across. Now, I did just have a question, and I'm going to answer it right now rather than at the end, because it is quite relevant to this part of it. What mic would you recommend for on-the-go phone recording? There are some really nice lapel mics out there, lapel being the ones that clip to you. And they can be really good because then you've got your hands free if you are out on the go to hold the camera or to hold the phone. So I definitely have a look at your lapel mics, whatever's sort of in your budget. Preferred brands does change all the time. I mean, most of my equipment here is Logitech, but that's just because I like the way the Logitech ecosystem works with itself. But definitely if you can, for being out and about, grab a lapel mic. That's going to serve you a lot better than trying to get your earpods or trying to get your phone to hear you. So, have a look at JB Hi-Fi, have a look at Amazon, have a look at a couple of reviews and see which models are good at the moment, what people are liking, or even if you're on a bit of a budget, one of the things I love to do with tech is look at the last model and see if it's on clearance. But some of the really good brands out there are, well, it would have been Blue Yeti before, but Logitech have actually taken over Blue Yeti. This is technically a Blue Yeti mic. What else is there? There's Bose out there. There's a couple of other really good ones. I might do a post in the Facebook group covering off a couple of the brands that are being recommended at the moment. I haven't been in the market for a lapel mic for a while, so I'd have to do a little bit of research on that, but I'm happy to do so. All right. Now for the big one, and this is part of the fun. What do I say? All right, I've got my tech sorted. I know where to sit. Got my camera, got my mic, got my lighting, got my scarf. Hi, how you doing? What do you say? How do you come up with ideas for reels? One of my favorite all-time ways of coming up with ideas for reels is with a notebook. And there's my background, by the way. It doesn't have to be schmick, but there's nothing there that's super embarrassing. With ideas for your reels, this notebook is, or notepad on your phone or whatever it might be, is gold. And what I want you to do with it is every time a customer, potential customer, or somebody you're talking to about your business asks you a question that's not specific to them, write it down. Just jot it down. Eventually, what you'll have is a big long list of things that actual people want to know about you and what you do. And once you've got a fairly decent list, then you can pick and choose from that list whatever you feel like talking about on the day. You don't have to start at the top and work your way to the bottom. You can go back through and go, you know what, today I really do want to talk about, why an SMSF is really good for self-employed specialist doctors. But tomorrow you really might not feel like talking about that. So get a little library together of all of the questions that you're asked on your phone, in a notebook, whatever it might be. And then you already know the answer to the question, because chances are when you were asked that question in person, on the phone, by email, whatever it might have been, you answered them. So you know the answer. All you have to do is phrase it as more of a paragraph or a statement and jump on, like we've talked about, jump on camera, grab your mic, and answer the question. Someone else will be wondering the same thing. Again, unless it's really specific to that particular person. Best way is to come up with that library. Over time, it'll grow, it'll grow, it'll grow. You'll start to see trends as well. So then you can start to get even more strategic about it and start going, well, okay, I usually find that, if you do this even over a couple of years, you'll find that, around tax time, if you're in the accounting or bookkeeping space, you might find that people ask certain questions that maybe you didn't think they wanted to know about. Or people might ask you a lot why you're doing what you're doing. If you get asked that, they want to know. They really do. People don't ask you specific questions about your business because they don't want to know. So that, for me, is probably my biggest tip on trying to come up with ideas of what to speak about. Now for the fun one. After I get through the next question, if anybody out there wants to jump into the chat and put their industry, I'm going to, on the fly, see if I can come up with some ideas of reels that you could record straight away based on your industry. This was a lot of fun last time. I don't have nearly as many participants this time, so I might not get any live. I'd love it if a couple of you did put some in, then I don't have to try and think up random industries. Any that I don't get to, I will be recording afterwards and popping in the Facebook group, which I'll introduce you to in a second. And I just love coming up with ideas for things like this. So for me, this is fun. You get a bit of value out of it. All right. Now I've got my questions over here. Any other questions you can chuck into the chat as well. I've joined late. Sorry, you may have mentioned this. Any recommendations for lighting attachments? Now, this is something that I'm actually going to be doing a podcast episode on with a photographer soon. Now I'm quite good friends with a photographer. I'm seeing her tomorrow actually to get some new headshots done, and she's going to sit down with me and talk me through on a podcast episode all of the ins and outs of lighting, from your budget lighting to your not so budget lighting. But what I know already is if the lighting that you've got naturally doesn't make you look great when you are recording, even just from Kmart, you can get little square clip-on lights, which is what I'm using at the moment above my camera, that can clip on. And make sure it's one that you can flip between warm light and cool light, because you'll find that depending on your space, what type of lighting you've already got coming in, you're going to want to adjust that. You also want to be able to adjust the brightness of it. So at night, I've got mine on warm white at the moment because the light coming in from my window next to me is quite cool today. But of a night, when my overhead lights and my lamps are on, which are both warm white, I usually would flip the specific front-facing light to a cooler white to be a little bit clearer and to stop me from sort of washing out. Now, I do know that ring lights are brilliant. Now, with the setup that I've got on my desk, I can't have a ring light in front of me, but a larger ring light can be a really good addition if you are, say, recording from your phone. A lot of them have a phone holder in the center, so nice and easy, hands-free, and that can give some really flattering soft light around you as well, if you don't have that sort of really good natural light that's coming in. But keep an eye out on the podcast because the photographer who knows lighting better than everybody is going to be giving us some really nice tips there as well on what's flattering and where to put the lighting as well. She knows a lot more about that than I do. All right, we've got a few minutes left, so I've got a couple of industries in here. For those finding where to find the podcast, I'm going to be sending you an email with links anyway, but it's the same as my business name, No Grey Suits. It's on all of the major ones: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, podcasts, all of the ones that you can sort of push it out to, apart from Audible at the moment because I'm having problems with that one. All right, so what industries have we got? And if anybody does want to drop off, because I know it's 2:30, that is absolutely fine. This is being recorded. But anybody else who wants to stick around, I'll go through a couple of these, not all of them, and then I'll do the rest in the Facebook group that I'll send you an email with the link to. There's also a really nice discount in the email for one of my services as well, but I'm not here to sell today, but it's there if you want it. Custom homes. This one, I'd probably go into some of the more fun storytelling, to tell you the truth. Things that you've been asked for when building a custom home that you might have not expected or not seen done in a certain way before. Because one of the things, if somebody is looking for a custom home rather than something, pre-designed, prefab, that kind of thing, then they're sort of wondering how far they can push the limits with their ideas and making those ideas happen and making it really feel like their home. So I would go on some of those tangents of some of the weird and wonderful and, really cool, almost quirky ideas that people have come up with that you've been able to implement. And then you can even mix that in with you talking, but then you can even show them the case study, show them the photos, show them how you did it, what you did. But really lean into that custom side of things is what I would do there to really make people start to think, yeah, this is why I need a custom home rather than just dealing with, the pre-built stuff and having it not quite the way I want. But, these are people that are going to help my ideas come to life. So I'd probably lean into that if I could. Astrology and tech support for an astrologer. I'm going to do those separately. So the tech support one I'm going to do in the Facebook group. So I'll send you through a link to that. But astrology is a fun one because what I would probably do there is kind of what I would want to know from somebody in astrology. It's what can this really help me with? And coming back to, again, storytelling. Storytelling is gold. Case studies. What have you actually found people have been helped with? And that whole sentence was worded very badly, but I hope you know what I mean there. But, is it more than just, reading what used to be in the paper? How can you use it practically? What uses have people made out of this knowledge or the education piece, or out of you actually doing an astrology session with them? How can it help? Why does it help? Who does it help? But yeah, definitely go more into the storytelling side of things and explaining why it's more than a section in the newspaper. And lean into the practical, because the, dare I say, in air quotes, I promise, woo-woo side of things, people that already gravitate towards that don't need an explanation as much. They just need to know whether they like you. And any video will do that as long as you're showing up with your personality. But if you're looking at the people who might be a little skeptical, you've got to show more of the practical side. How have you actually helped people? How has this helped people? Give specific case studies. I find with any of those industries that are, not known as, completely evidence-based stuff, you've got to give some of the evidence of your own. So stories of your clients, how you've helped, or how it's helped you. Tell your journey as well. And that's the evidence that they're looking for. That can be really hard to find in those industries that there's a lot of misinformation out there about. And a lot of people saying they can, work with astrology and they can't, because they've done a 2-minute course or whatever it might be. So come out there with those success stories, those case studies, those even your journeys or journeys that people have taken. And I think you'll hit nail on the head there. And because you've done 2 there, I'll do the tech support one in Facebook. The next one, business mentoring and advisory. That's another biggie. Business mentoring and advisory. Again, I want to go back to storytelling, but storytelling is, kind of everything that I've said so far. So I'm trying to think of doing something slightly differently. Always storytelling. In almost any industry, storytelling works. The journey of a customer. But business mentoring and advisory, I think people want to know the real you a bit more. Business mentoring and advisory is a very personal thing, even though it's business. And if somebody is hiring you in that capacity, they need to be able to trust you. And they also need to know that the personality that they're getting now, that they see in your marketing and your advertising, is real. That it's not going to be a case of, dare I say, catfishing, where the image that you've presented online is vastly different to what they actually get. So you want to be as real as possible there. So you almost want to share the downs as well as the ups to be relatable. When did you fail in business? How did you turn it around? What did you learn from it? Show that real side of you. Now, I recently did my Real Ready service, which is an interview service with a business mentor. And that is one of the tangents that we went down that went really, really well with her was, when you were starting out your business or, anywhere through your business journey, when has something gone really wrong or not how you expected? And what did you learn, or what opportunities did you get out of that? That shows that, 1, you're not perfect, but 2, that you have that ability to see the positive side and see the opportunities and see the how to fix things. Because if you're a business mentor who has always had it easy, how do I know you've been in the trenches with me? Unless you tell me. I need to know that you've been in the trenches. I need to know that you've got the experience working through the dark times as well as the light. So, but I also need to see that personality. So make sure, especially in that industry, make sure that when you are showing up online, if you're a really sweary person, I'm not saying get out there with the really bad words, but in your reels every now and then, if you need to drop a swear word here and there, to make sure that when you do get on an actual call with a client, they're not completely freaked out because they knew to expect that, then you're going to attract your people and going to have a lot less of those calls with people that are going to be tire kickers because they actually don't get along with you. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming along. I hope you got some value out of that. I'm going to send you a bunch of links, so keep up with your inbox, and keep an eye out for that from me. Take care.